Buonasera, buonasera a tutti, benvenuti a questo nuovo appuntamento del ciclo Con gli occhi della Bosnia, promosso da ospiti in arrivo e dal Circolo Culturale Nuovi Orizzonti. Questi appuntamenti saranno propedeutici, saranno delle piccole tappe verso quella che sarà la rassegna Diritti in Festa, che a scanso appunto di ulteriori restrizioni o pandemie che naturalmente non ci auguriamo, dovrebbe avere luogo il prossimo 4 di settembre. Con gli occhi della Bosnia è un ciclo che abbiamo voluto pensare, abbiamo ideato per dare voce e spazio ai rappresentanti della società civile bosniaca, agli attivisti, ai volontari e anche agli intellettuali che stanno seguendo da diversi anni quello che è il cuore pulsante della Balkan Route. Noi siamo convinti che il nostro confine sia estremamente importante per ciò che riguarda il concetto di migrazione in Europa, ma siamo altresì certi che dalla Bosnia, ieri come oggi, nasca la nostra idea futura di Unione Europea che per molti si risolve in una militarizzazione delle frontiere e in una progressiva escalation di violenze verso i migranti e che invece appunto noi vogliamo ribattezzare e rifondare all'insegna dell'accoglienza e della libertà di cammino e di passaggio attraverso queste frontiere. Nel primo dei nostri appuntamenti abbiamo avuto come ospite Nihad Suljic, un volontario di Tuzla, che ci ha illustrato esaustivamente quelle che sono le condizioni in cui opera quotidianamente nella sua città e ci ha illustrato in maniera appunto abbastanza dettagliata anche quella che è la situazione all'interno della Bosnia. Oggi abbiamo il piacere e l'onore di avere con noi Nidžara Ahmetašević, una giornalista e attivista, la cui presentazione esaustiva lascerò tra breve a Bisera Kirkic di ospiti in arrivo che mi supporta in questa intervista. Volevo solo ricordare che naturalmente per problemi tecnici abbiamo dovuto registrare questo appuntamento, ma potrete lasciare tutti i commenti, le vostre osservazioni e tutto ciò che appunto crederete utile all'interno dello spazio dei commenti sotto il video e sarà naturalmente nostra cura e di Nidžara anche rispondere circa le questioni che saranno affrontate questa sera. Io quindi cedo la parola a Bisera Kirkic di Ospiti in Arrivo per presentare la nostra ospite.
Sì, grazie Michele, buonasera anche da parte mia, buonasera da parte di Ospiti in Arrivo. E come ha detto Michele, Nidžara è una giornalista, è una ricercatrice indipendente, un'attivista per i diritti umani, si occupa da tantissimi anni dei diversi temi come il ruolo dei mass media nei processi di democratizzazione, dei crimini di guerra, dei diritti delle vittime. I suoi articoli sono pubblicati dalle testate internazionali più prestigiose e da diversi anni, da tanti anni, si occupa anche della rotta balcanica, della sua evoluzione, delle violenze che avvengono, no? E della violazione dei diritti umani. È una persona che non è mai rimasta in silenzio, è una giornalista che non è rimasta mai indifferente e anche per questo motivo subisce frequentemente delle intimidazioni. E il 6 marzo abbiamo anche assistito ad un suo brutale arresto. Io anche colgo questa occasione, Nidžara, per esprimerti la nostra solidarietà e la nostra vicinanza.
Grazie.
Stasera abbiamo tantissime domande per te. We have a lot of questions for you, so I will start in English. And so the first one, Nidžara, you often have written that Ratko Mladić disease has infected Europe, which means not only that European Union is the same that made arrangement with this war criminal, but also that Europe allows daily the hate speeches and some mantra in standard public debates, as happened during the Bosnian War. What is the importance of this kind of bad language on today's idea of refugees in Bosnia?
Thank you. Thank you for your support, solidarity, and for the opportunity for me to talk. I'm trying to remind people that there are similarities between what did happen in the 90s in the Balkans and what is happening now. And I find a huge problem, and I'm very worried about that because, you know, and Bisera, you are also coming from Bosnia. Europe was quite quiet about what was happening in Bosnia. It took them ages to recognize genocide. Even until today, the international community recognized genocide only in one municipality in Bosnia, which is absurd because the genocide cannot be done in such a way. So ignoring all that, ignoring what was happening inside of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also ignoring what was happening in Kosovo. And I have to mention Kosovo because it was apartheid in the middle of Europe for many, many years. And Europe was aware of that. International community was aware of that. So not only Europe, but like the broader community. And they ignored it. And in that way, they send a message not only to the Balkans, but also to the citizens of all around the world. And we saw that later on, that fascism is okay, that fascism can go unpunished, that they will not react, that nobody will care about dead people, but everybody will care only about some other interests that are not something that people want to talk even about. So going back, and that's why for me it is important, like not saying anything when the genocide is happening in front of your door, will bring, and we should have learned that lesson even in the past after the Second World War, that and we should have learned how to say no and how to say stop to fascism. And international community have not done that back in the 90s. And we know that later on, many incidents involving people who committed massacres basically around the world. We can remember New Zealand and some other places. People who done that were in a way inspired by those who committed genocide in this area. And that's what I'm talking about. Fascism is disease. And it's a pandemic. Yeah, we have to fight it like we are fighting Corona. Better, I have to say.
Thanks. And I follow this argument because it seems that last March, some members of the Nazi German party, Alternative for Deutschland, has been received by the Prime Minister of Una Canton, Mr. Mustafa Rusnic, and also by the mayor of Biac, Suret Fasic. This is two hot area for migrations in our days. In your opinion, Bosnia, it will become a ground for a new fascism, or is it only a mistake of our view?
I don't know. I'm afraid that the entire Europe is becoming exactly that, because people from this party are coming. They're from Germany coming here. They're not Bosnians. They're not Serbs. They're not Croats, Macedonians, whatever we have here. They're Germans. And also at the same time, we have a person from US who is on a wanted list, who was in Serbia, and then he crossed to Bosnia. So it's it is spreading around, and in this case, it is coming to us from Europe. So, and it's very dangerous. And of course, that countries, post-war countries, that did not really went through the process of facing with the past, that did not really find a way to deal with to find a way to learn how to live again. Of course, that the society that are so deeply traumatized, like a Bosnian society, but also Serbian society, Croatian, Kosovo, of course that we are very soft ground, to put it in that way, for anything. So at this moment, yes, we can feel like I have to tell you also another incident which is very worrying, and it's happened also recently in Bosnia. Many people, we have a very bad situation with COVID now, virus, and many people died. So in Sarajevo, one prominent and very famous person who was a Jew, died. And a day after he died, in Bosnia, we have this custom to put like in the public places, like some kind of like announcement of death. And there was an announcement left on the synagogue in Sarajevo, and somebody came and put a swastika on it. It was shocking. It was shocking for everybody, and they arrested a minor. They find immediately who committed the crime, and it's a minor. So yes, I'm worried, but I'm also worried because the people in Europe do not see that this is happening to all of us. To all of us, and we are in this together. People on the move, people in the Balkans, and all around, because, as I said, fascism is disease, and we can only fight it together.
Nidžara, it is evident that the institutions responsible for managing the presence of migrants have failed. They violated the constitution of Bosnia and Herzegovina and its laws. In your opinion, is there a possibility for a legal action against them and bring those responsible to trial somehow?
Well, we definitely hope, but I have to tell you that Bosnia and Herzegovina is the only semi-protectorate in Europe, probably one of very rare cases as such in the world. Being semi-protectorate means that somebody from outside of the country has a very huge power here. But also in this moment that somebody is European Union, and European Union recognize that in Bosnia has a huge issue with rule of law. So I'm not sure we can hope that something like that can happen. At the same time, I have to say that the influence coming from the European Union is huge, and very often is not is more on the side of those who are breaking and violating human rights and constitution and the law in Bosnia, rather than on the side of human rights, which is very sad. I have to remind you that in 2018, European Union decided, when the migrants started coming to Bosnia and Bosnia became active part of the Balkan Route, the European Union decided not to help directly to the state with what was going to happen and what is happening now, but they engaged an agency, a UN associate agency, international organization for migrations, together with some other international, to be in charge of the process they call managing migration. So much of this, what is happening in Bosnia, practically, and I don't want to find any excuse for local politicians. They are corrupt people. There are people who do not care about their own citizens and about migrants. They don't want to think about them. But at the same time, we in Bosnia are aware that politicians in Bosnia, as well as citizens, will have to follow the orders that are coming from European Union and that are delivered to Bosnia through IOM. So what IOM and European Union and their partners are doing in Bosnia is also a reason to be worried, and I hope that some kind of tribunal, being People's Tribunal or something else, one day will be established and be a platform for all of us, especially those who were hurt because of these kind of policies, at least to tell about what did happen, if not to prosecute somebody, but telling the truth and keeping these stories alive, being a witness, but being also somebody who will retell and tell the stories is very important part of this process.
There is a sort of destiny in these arguments, because if you have IOM, which has bad work and bad activity in Bosnia, you have on the other side an increasement of corruption in all the federation. Do you think that these two parts are the part of the same mirror?
Actually, corruption here is so deep and exists for so long time that it's just something that it did not increase with this. I can say that the pandemic and everything that is happening related to COVID is much more gave a ground for corruption, because here money that are coming from EU, these 100 million euros or how much until now, it's controlled by the international organization. So if there is a corruption, it's corruption on that side. Of course, that the local corrupt people will find a way, like always in the past, and we are looking at that for 30 years. They will find a way to profit, and they will cooperate with anybody, being IOM, being UN, being whoever, being international volunteers who are very often coming here without previous knowledge about Bosnia and Herzegovina, and without thinking about, as I said, and that's also something I think we share, at least when I was your guest. That's something that I talk about with many people that I met in Udine, and that's that this is all a common struggle of local people. We are all one. And we have a huge problem here when you have people coming from outside to help, but then they're not taking part in this being one, and not really express solidarity, and not really becoming part of the solidarity networks. Being naive and being oriented in this way, which is very often very neoliberal, even though they are coming under the cover of left, but in this way, even they sometimes are becoming close partners of corrupted elites in Bosnia that are struggling and killing this country and people in this country for decades now. So no, for us, corruption unfortunately became like everyday life for the last 20-something years.
25 years ago, on this very day, the siege of Sarajevo started. I was there as a teenage girl. I was wounded by the end of May. My father and mother decided that I will be much safer if they send me to Europe. I became a refugee. I was the worst refugee ever. I survived as a refugee for almost 1 year. I hated that. I hated that so much that I went back to Sarajevo to live under the siege. It was much better to live under the siege, under constant threat, without water, without anything, than to be a refugee. I came back to Sarajevo and I became a human being again. For me, it's unbelievable that 25 years after what me and many people from my country survived, in the same Europe, we are still talking about refugees, and we are still talking about this treatment of people when they are not seen as human beings.
I am impressed with every single woman I met on this road. I met women traveling alone. I met women traveling with their small babies. I met elderly women. I met women who became some of my best friends. I'm for a very long time in this, I think. And I'm amazed by the strength and by the struggle and determination to achieve a dream and to do something that will help to entire families. But I have to say that I also had unfortunate opportunity to meet many other people that I sometimes, I met elderly men. I met LGBT people, I met transgender people on this road, and I think it's a hell for them. It's even probably harder than for anybody else. Like recently, I had a case of very, very dear person, Moroccan, who was for a too long time in Bosnia, almost 2 years. And she is a transgender. Finally, she reached the European Union after who knows how many times she was pushed back. She was beaten. She really, really, literally went through hell in my country. And I feel horrible because of that. And then at the gates of Europe, who pushed her back and pushed her back and pushed her back a million times. And just meeting her and talking to her, it's for me, I'm like honored that she even let me in her life, because that's a special kind of people, being so brave and so ready to take this big risk for all of us. But also, as both of you know, probably there are many very young men who are traveling alone and who get lost, who miss their families, who miss their loved ones. Recently, I was in a tram in Sarajevo and I was listening in French conversation in my back between a man and I guess his wife or girlfriend somewhere far away. And he was like telling her for, I don't know, half of this journey in the tram, he was telling her, I love you, I miss you, we will see each other very soon. It's very painful, I guess, for him. I think it was not an easy day for him, that he missed so much somebody he loves so much.
Yeah, it's really hard also to give you another question. Sorry if I change completely the field of the argument, but I know the Bosnian culture and also the former Yugoslavia arts and literature, novelist and etc. But I think that they continue to talk about the past. And this is, in your opinion, a sort of limitation to understand today's situation and the new migrations through the Bosnia, or is a sort of support of help, real help to understand it?
Probably it's both in a way, but unfortunately I have to say, and I mean, we are kind of like, you probably even know that in Italy and everywhere else, people forget very easily. So many people don't remember themselves 25, 30 years ago. And that's very, very sad. At the same time, what is very interesting for me, many people who are part of this solidarity network, whatever we can call in Bosnia, or just ordinary citizens who are more than willing and happy to support people on the move who are coming through their cities and villages in Bosnia. When they do that, they think about their family members who migrated just recently, because after the war, more people left the country than during the war. And even in this moment, I think that half of this country is dreaming about the moment when they will be able to leave Bosnia. Bosnia, we are migrants, and many people are migrating because the situation in this country is so bad that it is becoming unbearable to live here. And very often these people who are helping people who are now on the move see themselves or very close relative of their family who just recently left and who is also somewhere in some, Germany. It's the same countries where we are all going to. Let's put it in that way. You go there where you believe there will be enough space and money for you. And so it's very, very, very often this is what motivates people to show their solidarity and be there for people who are on the move and coming through Bosnia, as well as war past. But war past is a big trauma, and for us, it's still. I know we should have overcome it, but everything that happened after the war did not help us very much, and that's why we still. And I think even these movies and even these books, many books from Bosnia. Do tackle with this, but it's important even for us, but even for you to read that and to know about something that happened in the front of your door.
We read in Italy that Slovenia has a secret plan to divide Bosnia and to formalize this kind of separation between Republic Srpska and the Federation. This is two entities that don't talk each other. And European Union maybe want to realize this kind of complete separation.
There is no complete separation. We do talk on the base of citizens. We do talk. We live together. What's happening on the political level is that we have, as I said, corrupted politicians who are not capable of anything else but destroying everything around themselves in order to hold on the power. European Union does not help citizens in this situation, and that's very sad, but they still align with these politicians who some of them we know from the war. So like for 30 years, we are looking at the same faces, not only in Bosnia, but all over the region. And it's usually for the international community, and it's not only in the region, it's all around the world, easier to find a partner in the bad one, because then you can manipulate with them easily. And again, I have to go back to this. Like I'm really hoping that European Union citizens will remember meaning of the word solidarity. Because even in this kind of situation, Europe, like what is Europe when you say Europe? It's you, but it's also your politicians. And if I am somebody who is going through the process called democratization for 30 years, and this process is imposed on me by the international community, mostly from the West. So this very strange type of democracy is introduced here, and all the time I'm listening that the West is democracy. So what I can do as a citizen of Bosnia, call you Westerners to remind yourself what democracy is, what solidarity is, to think about us and show solidarity with the countries like Bosnia, not only Bosnia, and to remind yourself, like, is this democracy? Because if this is democracy, then you as a citizens, you can change the acts of your politicians. That's democracy I was promised. And I'm kind of like little bit confused, like, why this is happening? Where are the citizens of Europe? Like what are you doing? Like coming to Bosnia or Serbia and bringing old shoes? No. It doesn't help. Not to me, not to you. There is other way. Organize, act, do something to change this world, because this is not going well for me or for you or for anybody. It's really, I was in Greece, I was in Serbia, I was in Turkey, I was in different countries, and I keep seeing one and the same thing. It's not all the time, of course, that there are people who do act differently, and that's why I'm like calling all the time people and asking them, do we remember what solidarity is? Because this is not, and like for me, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but based on the experiences of this almost 6 years on the road, like every time when we do this, we are helping to this system we hate to keep people in this humiliating living conditions. And like Lipa shouldn't exist. Lesbos shouldn't exist. And you have some volunteers going there to do, what are you doing there? Like, as long as you are there, that place will exist. And that's, you know, like, and I say this very often when I speak publicly. I was in Sarajevo during the siege, and it was like 3.5 years, and UN and people from all around the world, they were sending us humanitarian aid. And at the same time, they let this army to shoot at us. I mean, it's absurd that you are giving me a plate of rice, but you expect me to live like animal. And that's exactly what was siege of Sarajevo. So it was like a TV cameras all around us, but we were dying. We were not pretending. And, you know, like plate of rice did not help to anybody. What we wanted is the shooting to stop. What people who are on the move now want now is the borders to be open and that we are all equal so we can live the normal life, whatever that is, but give us a chance. So as I wanted 30 years ago, the siege to stop in Sarajevo, in the same way I want now this siege of Fortress Europe, of these closed borders, to stop upon all of us. And that's the only thing what we want. And we will not achieve that if we go around the world for a little bit of charity, bringing like, no, it's not the way. I'm not saying not to go and not to see that with your own eyes, not to witness, but don't believe that that's a hero act because the border is still closed.
Just one last question, Nidžara. Why intellectuals and professors are so silent?
In Bosnia, yeah, but not only in Bosnia, in general.
Okay, yes.
But in Bosnia, yeah, we do have that problem for not only in this situation. I mean, we can remember like the big protest that we have in 2014. But you know, I mean, but at the same time, we can remember that in the war, when they were not silent, they were saying things that you don't want to hear. So after all, it was the Serbian Academy of Science and Art that started to implant crazy ideas in our heads. So I don't know, but at the same time, it's very hard to understand, and I live here in Sarajevo, and many people almost scream and calling intellectuals in Bosnia, please do something, please say something. Is it this that it's just people feel desperate, and maybe they're just mirror of that desperation. I don't know. I would love to have understanding of this issue, but I'm afraid I don't.
Okay, perfect. And Nidžara, I will thank you very much again, and we will await you for this edition of Dirittinfesta, which is our festival of rights, if you want, if it's possible also to go across the border. This is our hope also for all the people. E ringraziamo anche tutti gli spettatori, tutte le persone che hanno assistito a questo dibattito, e vi diamo a questa intervista, scusate, vi diamo appuntamento al prossimo incontro con gli occhi della Bosnia. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie mille.